Hello, this is part of my Doreen Virtue Jesus series. I haven't done a video in several weeks. My ankle's been kind of really stiff. I haven't been in physical therapy waiting for insurance authorization, and it gets really kind of stiff, and I get a lot of pain. And I take pain nerve medication for it that's not, what do you call it? Not one. I don't take anything like those opiates, because I've had too many people that I know who became addicted to them. But I wanted to revisit the issue of Doreen Virtue's Jesus thing. I knew after I made the last video I did on this topic that I was going to be making more videos regarding Doreen Virtue's Jesus claims and Doreen Virtue's hustling in the name of Jesus Christ. That was starting to happen. But I had no idea how much I was going to be absolutely positively overloaded when I ended up getting in communication with individuals who had been her devout followers, students, who for years had been paying for her classes, paying to go see her, purchasing oracle decks that she sold them as of God, and that she claims she created with the angels of God. Individuals who would get certified for class upon class upon class based on the word of Hay House Publishing that this woman had a true gift of God, which she does not have. And to find out that to be in interaction with some of the individuals who I would go on to be defrauded and scammed in Doreen Virtue's Rescue Ranch hustle. Now, there's been so much that I've been reading emails and listening to people's experiences about how they're handling now, realizing that the person they followed was an absolute fraud, and that she's more than happy to throw their faith, their lives under the train tracks for a religious shift. But now they're realizing she was throwing them under the bridge of under the train tracks throughout her entire career, that she didn't really care what the impact of the harm of her lies and deceits would be upon her followers. And this is really, really traumatic for some of these individuals to be going through. And it's very important for individuals who profess to be Christian to be mindful that when individuals who have been scammed and defrauded by Doreen Virtue have been taken for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, come into the public forum and they share why people shouldn't trust her based on their own experience of having been spiritually deceived, taken for their finest choices, sold falsehoods in the name of angels and God, and taken for the best parts of them. The greatest parts of some of these people were absolutely exploited. And when they come into the public area and the public space and they share of their anger, their frustration, their confliction of emotion and experience, it's very important that members of the Christian community don't just blow them off because Doreen Virtue is telling you what you want to hear in terms of professing Jesus. Professing Jesus isn't the marker alone of a true prophet of God or a Christian mystic. But I will do another video on that topic. But this video, I'm going to talk primarily about the issue of Doreen Virtue's Rescue Ranch scheme. So, at one point I became aware of the fact that Doreen Virtue was actively online hitting up her fan base for financial means to support her rescue ranch. I observed that she was doing video posts that were very emotional and heartfelt with music and showing them little animals. They're so cute, and we're saving them. And these were produced videos. This wasn't just a live shoot of like, here's the bunny we found. These were actually, someone took the time to produce them with music. And it was done in a way to have people become emotionally engaged in her operation. Some of you are going to say, well, if someone is doing a charity, what's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with it is when you're deceptive. What's wrong with it is when you're not honest. What's wrong with it is when we can catch lie upon lie upon lie and excuses, and we see a rewriting of what she did to people. Now, I don't know if it was a scheme from the start, and I'm not going to say it was or it wasn't. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know, as someone who has watched her defraud and hustle and risk human life, is that she manipulated people's emotions in order to procure from them their financial resources, and she told them things that they gave of their resources based on believing her words and her statements. And they were told, if you buy classes from earthangel.com, that all of the proceeds from these classes would go to feed the rescue ranch animals. They were told that they could buy auction items on eBay of Doreen Virtue's used clothing. I'm not joking. She did videos. At one point, every single week, she'd do a video of her out in some field or someplace, and then she would post below the video a notification that you could buy items that she was wearing in that prior video, and that people could bid. And it was seemingly encouraged that they should be generous in their bids, because the monies from this were going to feed these rescue ranch animals. And Doreen Virtue had already put out and targeted vegetarians with her work previously, so she had a lot of compassionate, loving vegetarians who were following her. They were very generous in their bids, and having had contact with some of the people who purchased through the auction certain items, I have heard over and over and over again the anger and the sense of betrayal and the sense of manipulation about how they bid on these items and gave so much of their limited resources to this multi-millionaire, all so that they could help save an animal forever and have a forever home with her, which is what she clearly presented to New Age consumers. And this was something that was an exploitation and a marketing scheme that was done as part of her spiritual work. And it's very important that other Hay House authors understand that Doreen Virtue, week after week after week after week, in her angel card readings, where she scammed and manipulated people and told them that random flips of a deck was guardian angels. Like, I would just watch this when I could have the endurance emotionally to watch this, and be utterly mortified when she would reference that, oh, this card, it's from Archangel Michael, and he's saying blah, blah, blah. And she would do this to consumers. And that alone was bad enough. But to combine that with hitting people up for money week after week after week after week after week after week, it was every week. And then there was mixed into this experience promotional videos about the latest animals they had. I'm going to be putting some of the clips of the videos that you can see so that people who are watching this will understand how New Age consumers got so emotionally invested in a very manipulative way. I know that if a New Age consumer who is not a Christian speaks on this topic, Christians want to attack any truth that they say that's uncomfortable and say it's because the New Age consumer doesn't believe in Jesus. So I'm not a witch. I'm not a New Ager in terms of I don't believe in New Age pantheism. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm a Roman Catholic intuitive. I don't charge people money. I don't give readings for money. I've never certified anyone in a spiritual gift they don't have in a simony scam. I'm nothing like all the stuff that Doreen Virtue has promoted as holy and true and good and of God in the New Age. And I think it's important that someone who is both an intuitive and who is familiar with the New Age be the one to address this. Because Doreen Virtue is trying right now to rewrite the manipulation and the abuse she did. And that is one more thing that is hurting the very people she's already exploited, who are already in a faith crisis, who are already angry for all of the money they've been taken for, and they're having this frustration that Hay House Publishing actively promotes and has promoted Doreen Virtue as real to the public, and they have promoted her heavily for decades. Reed Tracy, the Hay House CEO, when I caught Doreen Virtue risking life in the city of Seattle, Reed Tracy decided New Age consumers' lives did not matter, that he was going to continue to promote her fraud. And he continued to heavily promote her. Some days I would go on Hay House and I would see a promotion or two on her, week after week. And it was really interesting from the perspective that Doreen Virtue was saying crazy crap that demeans the New Age in terms of any validity before society. And yet Reed Tracy made the decision that he was going to keep on a life-risking fraud who exploits vulnerable people, puts out stupidity in the New Age, and then he was going to continually promote her heavily, which not only caused people to be exploited financially, but it also meant that other authors at Hay House Publishing, who might have more to bring and be more honest, were harmed. They didn't get the promotion of what was better, what was saner, what was healthy, because the golden goose fraudster got all the attention. And because of Reed Tracy promoting Doreen Virtue like that, no matter what wrong things she did, and I at one point was writing him frequently, and I was coming to him over and over and over again about wrong things she was doing, whether it was wrong suicide information that could risk the lives of suicidal people in society, anti-vaccine messages she put out, her exploiting those with chronic and acute pain, whether it was her teaching in opposition to Jesus Christ, her teaching in opposition to common sense, her teaching consumers that they should go to support her, one of her feelings from the angels or something. She actively funnel-fed her fans to a site called Natural News, which is a known quack site that has incredible amounts of dangerous medical misinformation, and she promoted them. And when I did research on her history with them, they have a history of promoting her bullshit. So it looked like a tit-for-tat scheme. And that was abusive. But Reed Tracy has known all of this. He has known all of this for years, and yet he continued to promote her. It didn't matter how many women and the New Age were led to stupidity, because Reed Tracy has to have a certain level of lifestyle to give his wife. Other women have to suffer so that his wife's greed can be met, so that Reed Tracy's children can have every advantage in this world and have great medical. Other New Age children have been told wrong medical information that can risk their lives. And this is the game that's been going on. And just so that it's clear, Doreen Virtue is not the only Hay House author who's claiming a spiritual gift they don't have. She is not the only Hay House author that has put out wrong medical information in the name of spirit. She is not the only Hay House author committing simony, which is the false seeming presentation that people can buy a spiritual gift. But she's the one at the moment that has had tons and tons of fans, and now they want their money back. And when they're asking for their money back, part of what is in that equation is the rescue ranch. They bought over the spring and summer an incredible number of classes, and they bought them thinking, this woman is talking to angels, this woman's this kind, caring person, maybe it's a lot of money for this, but it's going to feed animals. And they'd see these videos week after week after week in her readings. She'd have little animals around, and she'd have goats. It was really bizarre from my view. But it was about exploiting so that she could get more and more money, in my view. When I look at those videos and I see what she did and what the impact of it was, that's what it looks like. Now, it's very important when people are evaluating the Rescue Ranch thing right now that they are mindful that Doreen Virtue deciding to try to rewrite the abuse that she visited on her consumers, that she's still engaged in, that this not be excused. So I'm going to talk about some of the stories that I've been encountering, and I'm going to connect below other people's reflections, digestions, and their own personal experience. My connections to their blogs, to their videos, and to various posts does not mean that I am advocating divination, witchcraft, oracle deck use. It doesn't mean that, but I think it's important that if I'm going to be talking about other people's experiences, that you get to see what they put in the public forum, so that you don't have to trust my words, that this is what people are experiencing. There is one individual who is a very seemingly kind-hearted person who cares deeply for animals, and her name is Ursula. And Ursula lives overseas, and Ursula had, I think, signed up for some of these courses. I don't know if she bought Doreen Virtue's used items, but she had made purchases primarily motivated due to Doreen Virtue's pitch that these purchases financially support rescue ranch animals that Doreen Virtue told everyone she was going to give a forever home to. I'm not going to make a judgment about that, and I hope that no one else, in terms of Ursula wanting to give generously or to sign up for class, the people who gave to that is because they're kind-hearted New Age people who love animals. But at one point, Ursula had some problems with this fairyologist course she signed up for, and she wrote Doreen Virtue. And she had Doreen Virtue's so-called fifth husband, which there's rumor going about may not even be her legal fifth husband. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, that she's not actually got a permanent financial absolute commitment to this man, and it breaks, you're going to see Christians and New Agers alike massively, it's going to be a crack point. That she scammed people even to the point she had a fake husband would be decimating. So I'm really hoping that the rumor is not true, but I don't know. But Ursula wrote Doreen Virtue, and she heard back from this so-called fifth husband. And just so everyone knows, Michael David Robinson was present when Doreen Virtue came to Seattle in 2012 in both the spring and the fall. I was at a book signing that was in Seattle in the spring, and in the fall of 2012, Doreen Virtue risked the life of a young black man in Seattle. And both of those times, Michael David Robinson was present with her. He has been part of her con game. He played a musical instrument. He, I guess, acts as sort of bodyguard. I don't know. Helps people in line get books signed. But he's part of her shtick. She has used him in videos as backup. He's not a very wise person, like someone I would pay to sign up for a class. And at times, she's tried to inflict him making comments on things to her fan base, and people don't have a positive reaction about him. But this person is who wrote the consumer back, not Doreen Virtue. And it was conveyed to this woman something about the finances and how they weren't giving refunds back, and that there was a problem with the rescue ranch. And Michael David Robinson, his real last name is not Virtue. Virtue is Doreen Virtue's second ex-husband's last name. Michael David Robinson using Michael Virtue in public is highly deceptive. Okay? Real men don't use their partner's second ex-husband's last names, in my view. It's just kind of bizarre. But, back to the story. So this person writes her and tells her that 2 months prior, he had to tell Doreen Virtue that their finances were such that they were not going to be able to sustain the rescue ranch. And he was playing this pity trip on this new age consumer who had given money for a course based on Doreen Virtue doing heavy pitch sales that you should purchase her courses, that these monies would go to feed rescue ranch animals. You can imagine the consumer was kind of confused. Like, you've been heavily pitching to us week after week after week that you're going, that you need our money to feed these animals, and we've been generously contributing and signing up for classes. What a lot of people don't know is that some of the diehard Doreen Virtue fans who sign up for class upon class are connected with other students. They develop friendships over the years. So they're fully aware that it's not just them getting taken for a couple $100. They're aware if they've got 10 or 12 friends that are following Doreen Virtue, you're talking thousands of dollars possibly between their whole group over years that they've given this woman. So Ursula was really confused, because she's got this Michael Robinson communicating to her that he had told Doreen Virtue 2 months prior they were going to need to close the rescue ranch down, and that they can't give refunds, I guess. And she's like, this story doesn't line up. And she was able to get video clips that Doreen Virtue tried to delete when she did her mass deletion of videos. But she went back and she looked at the videos, and it was very apparent that Doreen Virtue was actively soliciting donations from New Age consumers after that period when Michael David Robinson had already told her they were not going to be able to sustain the ranch, they were going to sell the property. As Michael Robinson isn't the breadwinner, it wouldn't have been Michael Robinson who is going to be making the decision to sell the house and to do things. He is not the breadwinner. Doreen Virtue earns the money. So if the decision was made 2 months prior, we should have, in the videos that were put out, there should have been honesty that the rescue ranch was going to be sold, that this was only a temporary situation, and that they were going to have to rehome animals, and that they were looking to buy property in another area. This should have been conveyed to people as soon as they made that decision. But that wasn't what happened. It's really important that other Hay House authors and other members of the public, including the Christian community, understand it's a mind screw. When you have New Age consumers spending of their hard-earned money out of compassion for animals, and they bought classes after that period that Doreen Virtue knew full well she was closing the ranch down. But she was hitting them up for vet money bills. She was telling them it's so expensive, and she was taking on animals after she knew she was going to close down. That's not alignment. Like, this is not a truthful situation. Consumers were watching her take more and more animals, and then all of a sudden there was this announcement that the rescue ranch thing wasn't working out so well, and they were down from like 300, I think, to 100. I don't know, but in the end, they dumped 280 animals on other people. Those 280 animals were animals that New Age consumers were feeding. Those were animals that every single month New Age consumers were giving money for courses. They were buying used clothing items, divination decks, and they were literally giving money directly, because Doreen Virtue was on a line illegally soliciting money for a non-registered charity situation in direct violation to Hawaiian law. New Age consumers who were vegetarians are like, where the hell did she dump these animals? And Doreen Virtue is trying now to paint it like, well, she and Michael, they were just overly ambitious rescue people, and they never should have told people they were going to take them forever. They should have taken them temporarily and then given them away to other people. And she's tried to wrap her story up that all the animals got rehomed and everything's fine. That's not the reality of what Doreen Virtue left in her wake. And her doing what she's doing and lying in the perception to the New Age public and to the general public is like throwing salt on wounds to all of the people who feel absolutely suckered for having given up their hard-earned money to this woman. One of them decided to check her finances out, because if the woman is claiming that they financially cannot afford to sustain the ranch and that they're going to move to something much more affordable, she decided she was going to check it out. And the check on that was mind-blowing. Doreen Virtue, in videos, conveyed to New Age consumers when she was at this rescue ranch, she would paint this image that it was like close to 40 acres, I guess, and she conveyed this image that she was only, like, her house is only 1,000 square feet. And it's this tiny little house, and she's got like, I don't know, 11, 13 animals inside animals, and she conveyed this image to people that as if she was like on some destitute property. You kind of expect like she'd show this kind of image like when she started filming inside. You get this image that it must have been like a little shack thing. You can imagine when New Age consumers found out that the property she's selling in Hawaii, they got her address. A $3.2 million property, and they can see the photos. They can see the stable area. They know her square footage of everything because those images are available. And I'm going to put a connect to the property, and I'm going to put a connect to Ursula's video of her. And I believe in Ursula's video, I believe part of the time that Doreen Virtue is talking, one of those segments, she mentions the square foot of her house. So you can compare it to the actual square footage of this house. And you can compare the impression about, is it honest to say you only have X amount of space when you actually have a stable? When you have a garage? Is that honest? To leave the perception that you're land rich and property poor, and to be hitting New Age consumers up week after week after week of their hard-earned funds. And then when you close the ranch down, after you've hit them up for money, and they're coming to her now, and they're like, the courses that you were selling us during the spring and summer weren't very good. You didn't make them properly. They have misinformation in them. And they wanted answers to the horrible quality of these products that were huckstered onto them by exploiting the best parts of them and their love of animals. Doreen Virtue kept plugging all the courses on this. You buy them and it goes to feed the animals. And like I said, I think it's really important that people understand that I want you to imagine if other people were paying, let's say you had 25 dogs or 25 whatever in your home, or you were running a rescue, whatever, and other people were providing the subsistence, like paying for all of their food for several months, and then you decide to just get rid of all the animals. That would be pretty shocking. But while I'm talking about this subject, I also think it's really important that people be very mindful that Doreen Virtue and Michael David Robinson were very emotionally exploitive. When they wanted to procure money from New Age consumers, they'd do these videos and see the pigs and ducks and all these various different types of animals. They would do these little promo videos to try to pull at the heartstrings to procure of people's money. It would have been a very, very easy matter for when they were rehoming these animals to have made videos that cost them nothing to make, so they would be able to show people, oh, we're giving, I don't know how many pigs, I don't know what kind of numbers they had on their animals, but let's just say it's 30 pigs or 20 pigs. Oh, here we are, we loaded them up here, this is where they'll be living. Nice person, wave. Are they going to be made into bacon? No. Okay. And to do videos like that would have cost Doreen Virtue and Michael David Robinson absolutely nothing to make. But they didn't care what the impact would be. They weren't honest, and they didn't value the people that had given of their substance. And this is something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about how absolutely abusive a situation it was that Doreen Virtue was using her illegally soliciting donations rescue ranch scheme to hit up Hay House consumers. All of the people that I've run into so far that I've been in communication with who bought items and bought classes and gave money, every last one of them came to Doreen Virtue through Hay House Publishing. And a lot of them have bought products through other Hay House authors. I want to make sure all of you understand, who are other Hay House authors, that when New Age consumers are bled dry by Doreen Virtue's schemes and her bullshit things she runs, that's money they can't spend to buy your books. That's money that they're not going to spend to see you speak, because they only have limited resources. And when you funnel feed to Doreen Virtue while she risks human life, while she derails people's mental health, telling people they're incarnated leprechauns, unicorns, mermaids, and you just don't care about their mental health, that's sick. But it's not in your actual good financial sense for any of you to be leading or to be making any excuses from just business, money standpoint. Why would you funnel feed your trusting fans that are on your pages to someone else that Reed Tracy is going to push more heavily on all Hay House avenues than he's going to push you, and Doreen Virtue is going to bleed them dry, and then their money isn't going to be there for you to make money at a talk, for you to make money via a DVD set, for you to have them buy your books. People have limited income. And I think it's important that other Hay House authors start talking about Doreen Virtue's lying to your fan base. It's important you all start taking responsibility that Doreen Virtue only made the incredible income she did and exploited so many people, so many loving, good, wonderful New Age people, because you, the other Hay House authors, were more than happy to serve your trusting fans up on a platter for her to exploit. And I know, having heard some of you, that you're fully aware that Doreen Virtue is saying stupid and wrong stuff. Particularly you, Carolyn Mace. You have at times, when I've heard you speak, sat there and mocked people who say special eating is going to make you more psychic. Reed Tracy and Robert Reeves did an entire book about psychic eating to make you more gifted. But you don't publicly challenge when bullshit goes out at Hay House. And none of this is spiritual. There needs to be a response from the Hay House authors when we've got New Age authors that you have all tied to and twied to, messing with the minds of the people that you send to them, financially exploiting them based on their love of animals, telling them not to get flu shots, telling them wrong information on pain information, or like Esther Hicks, plugging rape and molestation apologists, telling raped and molested people that the reason you got raped was bad thoughts, it's all your fault. That is so sick. The Rescue Ranch scheme, the people exploited were Hay House consumers. And they are good people. It's time for other Hay House authors to come out and to start condemning Doreen Virtue's claims. Particularly any of you who are Hay House authors, who profess the love of animals, who do fundraising or who do events to care for animals. I want you to think about how much money was almost wasted that could have gone to reputable charities or reputable situations where people could have paid for an animal surgery or paid for a low-income person to be able to feed their cat so they don't have to get rid of their cat that they can't afford. There are a lot of ways that the money that Doreen Virtue exploited from people could have been sent to reputable, legally operating charities. And that you had a spiritual author now making comments and not even commenting on the fact that there are so many people wanting their money back because she pulled at their heartstrings and sold them inferior classes with wrong information, and then sold it on the love of animals. So they were afraid when the classes sucked to ask for their money back, because that would mean that they wouldn't love the animals. It's time to start talking about some of this difficult stuff.